Well, am I audible? I did not unmute myself. Am I audible? Okay. Yeah, read this paragraph, guys, about scaffolding. Is that clear? So it's a code auto generation technique. So this decreases the work of the work of typing, guys. You can just go minimum typing work. Basically, it provides standard operations. Standard operations means selecting, inserting, updating, deleting. For all the things, auto generation will be done. We used only blank yesterday. We used only a blank controller, but we have options for generating the action methods for read-write operations. We'll do that. Going forward, we'll do that. But scaffolding is an auto generation, code auto generation framework. Is that clear? Fine. So last day, by adopting this process of scaffolding, what we have done developing one controller now. So by default, that controller comes with an index action method. We deleted that, and in that place, we have just implemented our own code, right? We deleted that, and in that place, we have just been implemented our own methods. Two methods again. What are the two? Index and show. And if you want to call index, is how you call. Right, this will call you the index, and this also will call you the index. But show method can be called only by explicitly specifying the name. Okay? Yeah, now the question arises. What the question is, where exactly the information of the default controller and default action method present? So actually, we have a default controller. What is the default controller? Home. The default action method? Index. The default controller is home controller, and the default action method is index. We already saw that. Discussed about it, we saw that. Last day we were talking. Can I change that? Yeah, you can change it. Okay, if I can change, where should I change? Did you get my point? If I can change, the big question is, where should I change? Where should I exactly change that value? Understood, all of you? That is the question in our minds now. So if I can change that value, where exactly that change has to be done? Okay, so fine. Let me answer. What is that? Say, where is the information of default controller home and default action method index is specified? Index was specified. Okay, where is the information of default controller home and default action method index were specified? Where are they specified? Those details are present in routeconfig.cs file. Where? Routeconfig.cs file. Do you remember? By default, in the AppStart folder, I explained to you, there are 5 classes going to be present under 5 files. In empty project, we'll have only route config, but if at all you go for an MVC project, a route config, bundle config, like filter config, 3 configs come. But in empty project, what we get is only route config. Actually, that route config is the file or the class under which the details are present. See, those details are present in routeconfig.cs file, which is present in AppStart folder. To verify that, open routeconfig.cs file, and there we find a class with the name. What name? Routeconfig is a class. And the code, by default, the code in the class will be as following. See, the code will be like, I'll show you. Let me open the routeconfig AppStart folder. And inside of the AppStart folder, we just have that information of the route config. And if you open that, this is the code in the class. There will be a static method. What is the method? Register routes. Register routes. Okay. So under this method, we need to specify the details of the route. Under this, we need to specify the details of the route. So what it is, ignore the first line. We'll talk about the second method. The second method is map route. It is calling a method called as map route. And this method is taking some parameters. The method is taking some parameters. And remember, in C#, we have an option when you're passing values to parameters, we can specify the name and name colon and pass the parameters. I explained you this concept for you when you are having default valued parameters. When you generally you have default valued parameters, some are optional, some are mandatory. In that scenario, we use the parameter name colon and pass the value. So if you see this method is taking 3 parameters, and the parameter names are name, URL, defaults. Got it? The parameter names are name, URL, defaults. Just see here, open the brace, guys. If you open the brace and see the method signature, see the syntax of the method. First parameter, string name. Second parameter, string URL. Third parameter, object defaults. You can use the name of the parameter, colon, and pass on the value. So I can pass a value for name, I can pass a value for URL, I can pass a value for defaults. So first one is name. You can give any name for identification. You can give any name for identification. Okay. So any name, no problem here. So they give a name here. What is the name? Default. What is the second parameter? URL. So the second parameter URL is to tell what should the URL pattern. What should be the URL pattern? The URL pattern should be after HTTP or localhost or domain name, whatever it is. First HTTP localhost all are to refer to the web server. See, you write HTTP localhost colon port, or you write HTTP localhost slash MVC test project. Our project name is MVC test project 3. Whatever you write, this is to refer to the web server. Don't forget that. This is pointing to web server. This is the pointer to web server. After that, what should come? After that, controller name, action method name should come. So you can see there should be the controller name, afterwards action method name, and an optional value, some ID can be passed as a parameter. Option is there. We did not do it any time till now, but you can pass one ID as a value for that. Okay. And coming below, it will show you the defaults now. Now it is showing the defaults. What is the default controller see? What is the default action method see? And coming to the ID, we never passed this ID, but code got executed. Why? It is optional. Or default. Optional. That is optional. Are you clear? So if you want to change, you can change here now. I want to change the default controller as demo. Come on, change. I want to change the default action method as show. Run your code and watch. The demo controller show action method gets executed for you by default. Can you see that? And see the URL, all of you. The URL is not pointing to any controller. The URL is not pointing to any action method. But what launched? Demo controller, show action method got launched. Are you clear? So this is where exactly the URLs are going to be defined now. Now, let me change this. Your option here, you can change it. Okay, that is the default. When you're giving a URL pattern, you can tell how the pattern should be present. How the pattern should be present. Any pattern you can just give. Suppose all my URLs before the controller name or the action method name, my company name should be present. Mandatory? Yes. My company name should be present for sure now. So I can tell that suppose NIT is my company name and that should come before the controller name. So now what is the default controller? Home. Default action method? Index. So when I send a request in both these two scenarios, that home controller index has to launch now, na? Yes or not? Now run and see. If you observe, it's not launching. Why is it not launching? Because we said that URL should contain my company name now, NIT something. Okay, hit enter. Now you got it. See. So what about the remaining? Remaining same process here. Demo / show. So compulsory in the URL, the company should be present here. The company name should be present here. Are you clearer or not? Suppose you have different categorizations here. Like when you're building an application, you have different categorizations like garment section, like a shopping cart application, like a garment section. Separately, you just have the electronic section. Suppose in the URL, that should contain the appropriate thing now. Just like NIT, all the garment sections, I want to get the keyword as garments. For all the electronics, I want to get the keyword as electronics. Like this, I can just put that. That's my choice. It's not mandatory. But whatever you specify in the route config file, that will be used in your URL. So you need to specify what you want here. Are you getting my point or not? You need to specify what you want here. So by default, it will tell you the pattern should be controller and the pattern should be action method, and the default controller is home controller and the default action method is index action method. I hope it is clear, all of you. Yes or not? Okay, the default controller is home controller and the default action method is the index action method. So this is how I can specify that I want, how I want this code to be executed. Home controller and the index. What about the parameters, sir? I'll explain you. We'll talk about the parameter in detail. Hold on a minute. Okay. Yeah, have a look. What is routing? Routing enables you to use URLs that do not have to map to specific files in a website. You're not mapping to files. You're not mapping to files here basically, because URL does not have a how to map to the file. You can use URLs that are descriptive of the user's action and therefore easily understand by the users. So the URLs are going to be user friendly or easily understandable to the users. In an ASP.NET Web Forms application, right, it is talking about Web Forms, not MVC. Two options now, Web Forms and MVC. Do you remember when I explained you the difference between Web Forms and MVC? I said you, in Web Forms we have file-based URLs. The complete path of the file should be present. Suppose under the project, you have it in a folder, subfolder. You're required to completely provide that information in the address bar. But here we don't require to. Here we don't require to. So just controller name, action method name. See, we put the controller in the controllers folder. We put the control in the controller folder. Did you specify the name of the folder there? Tell me. Under controllers folder, you created a subfolder and put your controller. Still, I don't require to specify the path. What I require to do is only tell the name of the controller. It is the job of the MVC to identify or pick the controller with that particular name. Searching the whole project. Wherever I put it, that's none of your business. No need to specify the path at all. But if you don't specify the complete folder path in a Web Forms application, it will not be accessible. Suppose in a Web Forms application, under a project, just for example, in a Web Forms application, I have a project here, test project. In that project, I have a folder called as Demo1. Under that, again, I have a folder called as Demo2. Now in this, I'm just going to place my web page. Okay. Page 1 dot, what is the extension? Not C#, not CSHTML, ASPX. That is Web Forms. Extension is ASPX. So how should I call it, compulsory in my URL, HTTP, localhost, test project, then Demo1, Demo2, page 1 dot. I just require to specify the complete URL now, address now to locate where the page is present. But when you come to your MVC application, you put the controller anywhere, you put the view anywhere, whatever you put it, that none of the business. What you're required to tell is only controller name, action method name. Rest of the things will be taken care by, whom? The MVC application. MVC framework will take care of it. So that is the great advantage. So in an ASP.NET Web Forms application that does not use routing, an incoming request for URL typically maps to the physical file that handles the request, such as ASPX. For example, a request for HTTP localhost:/port product.aspx. What is the page name? And that requires one parameter now. What is the parameter? ID. I think our products page is there. I want a product with ID 4 now. Every product has an ID now. I want a product with ID 4. So how should I say product.html? Question mark ID is equals to 4. Basically, this is called as query string. We call this as a query string. We just call this as a query string. Query string means concatenating a set of values in a key value combination. Concatenating a set of values in a key value combination to the URL of a page is called query string. The values are present in a key value combination. Watch it. What is ID? Be active here. What is ID? ID is the key. ID is the key. What is the? That what I'm telling, key value combination, passing the values in the form of a key and value combination, where ID is the key and 4 is the value. These are concatenated with a question mark now. Suppose tomorrow, if you have multiple parameters that has to be passed, so you want to pass one ID as well as one name also. Then again, ampersand name is equals to key's name is equals to some product name, shoes. I want one more thing. What is that? Price. I want one more thing. Again, ampersand price is equals to 3,500 something. Did you understand? So you're going to pass them in a key and a value combinations like this. So what is this? This is the key and this is the value like this. So the user feels it a little bit complex if at all he has to type all these things. But when you come to the same MVC application, how do you type it here? HTTP localhost:/port/. Suppose the controller name is product. The action method name is index. Product index. Okay. And for that I need to pass some values. /4/shoes/3,500. Which one is simple and easy? Did you understand? Not MVC here. Routing. Route pattern is easy to use when compared with non-routing. Okay, so because we just use the routing here, this is how you have a chance of passing on the values now, compared with the previous one. Okay, but if at all you want to pass like this, you need to tell that in the route config file what you're passing. Right now in the route config file, there is an option to send only one value, that is ID. Right now, I can pass only ID. I cannot pass these two. If I want to pass, I need to tell that on the route config. I'll show you how to do that. I did not still explain, but I'm going to show you how to do that. But as of now, what you can pass is only ID, because in the route config file, remember, ID can be passed here. Son, I want name also. Array, simple here. Name. I want price also. Price. I can tell everything here. So when you're calling it, you can pass on all the values in that location now. Understood or not? So this makes it easy for users, okay, to enter their values in the address bar without complicated URL patterns. For example, a request for HTTP localhost:/port products.aspx ID is equals to maps to a file named that contains the code and markup for rendering a response to the browser. The web page uses a query string value ID is equals to 4 to determine what type of content to display. What we call this? Query string. Remember that word, guys. Query string. We'll be coming across these query strings in different places in our application from now onwards. Okay, we'll talk about the query strings in different areas in our application, but that is going to be called as a query string. So how do you put a query string? Query strings are concatenated to the URL, suffixed with a question mark, concatenated with a question mark. Okay, na? So a question mark. If multiple parameters are there, the separator between each parameter is ampersand. Ampersand is the separator between each parameter. Okay. Next. By using routing, we can define URL patterns that map to request handler files, but that do not necessarily include the names of those files in the URL. We don't require the names of the files in the URL. In addition, we can also include placeholders in the URL pattern so that variable data can be passed to the request handler without requiring a query string. For example, in the URL, this is the URL. This is the URL. Routing parser can pass the values products, show, and for to the page handler if the route is defined using the URL pattern. Yeah, route is already defined in this URL pattern. Yes or not? Now what is products? Controller. Yeah, products is controller. Show, action method name for ID. The page handler would receive the dictionary collection in which the value associated with the key products is controller, the value for the key action is show, and the value for the ID is for. In a request that is not managed by URL routing, the products slash show slash for fragments would be interpreted as a part of the file. So if there is no routing, what it will think, it will think products is a folder under that. Show is another folder under that. For is the file name now. Did you understand my point or not? That is how it will interpret when we don't have the routing in the code. Okay, next, routes. A route is a URL pattern that is mapped to a handler. A handler can be a class that processes the request, such as controller in an MVC application. So our controller is basically what we call as a handler. That is going to handle the user request now. To define a route, you create an instance of the route class by specifying the URL pattern, the handler, and optionally a name for the route. Remember, we're given a name for the route now. Name, URL, and defaults. You add the route to the application by adding the route object to the static routes property of the route table class. The route property is a route collection object that stores all the routes for the collection. What is it telling is, array. If at all you want to do that, you're required to add them to, you're adding to route collection only. See, route collection routes and routes.map route. This is added to the route collection. It is added to the route collection. Can I have multiple, sir? Yes, we can have. I'll show you. We can have multiple also. Just will show you how you can just define multiple. So it is just telling you, you're required to create it and add to the route collection. Add to the route collection. Okay, fine. Next. What next? We typically do not have to write code to add routes in an MVC application. We don't require to do that. Why? MVC already done that for us now. Visual Studio project templates for MVC includes pre-configured URL routes. These are defined in route config class, which is defined in routeconfig.cs file and then registered in application underscore start method of MVC application class defined under global.asx file by calling routeconfig.register routes. What is that? Guys, when should I define a route to my code? When the application starts, listen, when the application starts, I need to tell now what should be the route pattern. After application starting, you cannot tell that now. Are you getting my point or not? When you should tell that? When the application starts. There is a cinema theater. There's some auditorium. People are coming for that particular auditorium. And outside the gate, there is a person standing. So you need to tell to the person, what are they? Suppose you just sold the tickets for that particular show now. Some show is happening in the auditorium, you sold the tickets. You need to tell him, what are they? If the person comes with a 500 rupees ticket, allow him in this gate. If he is coming with a 200 rupees ticket, allow him in this gate. You need to tell them. Without telling, if you simply send them, go and stand there means, what you will do? You'll check the ticket and send all the people inside now. Yes or not? So, I cannot tell that in the middle. When should I tell him? Starting only. So here also, I want the route pattern. I want the route pattern. I need to tell that. When should I tell? In the starting of the application. Where did I write the code? I've written the code under a method. Which method? Until and unless a method called, the code won't execute now. Yes or not? This method is called for you under the global.asx file. And do you remember about this method I already explained you? This is the first method that executes when the first request comes to the application. Tomorrow you hosted your application now. Now the first request comes to the application. When the first request comes to the application, guys, watch what is it doing. It is calling the register routes method now. So control jumps to register routes method now. And in the register routes, the route is registered. Is the point clear? Yes or not? Okay, that is only it is telling you. Read it again. Read that. Are you clear? These are defined in route config class, which is defined in route config.cs file, and then registered in the application underscore start method of MVC application class defined under global.asx file by calling route config.register routes. It is calling route config.register routes now, and because of that call, your code got registered automatically in your application. Is that clear? Next, URL patterns. What should be the pattern of the URL? What should be the pattern of the URL? This can contain literal values and variable placeholders referred to as URL patterns. The literals and placeholders in the segment of the URL which is delimited by a / character means it is telling you can have literals. Literals means constants here. And placeholders. Placeholders means the values can change. What are constants? Remember, I shown you already, I typed a value NIT. That NIT is a literal, it's a fixed value. You can't change that. But when you come to controller name, is it writing controller or it is using curly braces? See, in C# you learnt now, if you put curly braces, what we call them? Placeholders. We call them as placeholders, means that values can be replaced now. So we have constants there and we have placeholders here. Watch it. See, right now, in this all are placeholders, but I have shown you this already, NIT. That is a constant. Can I change this? You can't. You cannot change this. This is fixed value. And here is a placeholder. You're reserving a space now. So what can come there? Controller name. What name? Any name. By default, what name will come? Home. Afterwards, you can put a demo there, test there, anything you can put. Here, action method name, index, show, whatever it is. And this is ID. ID is nothing but a value that can be substituted. A passing value for the ID is not mandatory, it's optional. Tomorrow you can pass any value to the ID. Got it? The data type of the ID is specified there? No. Because it is not specified, because the ID don't think like you need to pass integer value only, you can pass any type of value. The ID is alphanumeric string. Pass it because data type is not there. Did you get my point? Okay. So that's what the URL pattern contains what? Literals and placeholders, and they are separated by, delimited by / character. We're using a / there, right? When a request is made, the URL is passed into segments and placeholders, and then the variable values are provided to the request handler. This process is like the way the data in a query string is passed and passed to the request handler. In both cases, variable information is included in the URL and passed to the handler in the form of key value pairs. What is the difference, in routing and old one? In the old way, the key names and the value names both should be in the address bar. But in URL, but in routing, key names are defined already in the route config. What you need to pass is only values here. No need to tell the key names there. What you require to tell? Only values. Understood? But both are same only here. Here also you are passing 3 values. And here also you are passing 3 values. But here we are passing keys and values, but here we are passing only values, but not the keys. Hope this is clear. Okay. Yeah. This process is like the way the data in the query string is passed to the request handler. In both cases, variable information is included in the URL and passed to the handler in the form of key value pairs. For query string, both the keys and values are in the URL. For routes, the keys are in the placeholder names defined in the URL pattern, and only the values are in the URL. That's what I explained to you now. For query string, keys, values, both will be there. But for routes, only values. Where are keys? In the URL pattern, they are defined in the route config. Okay, next. In an URL pattern, you define placeholders by enclosing them under curly braces. Placeholders will be under curly braces. You can define more than one placeholder in a segment, but they must be separated by a letter value. Array, multiple placeholders can be there. Already said you na, multiple placeholders can be there. Here I already explained you guys. Press slash here, name. There will be some separator. What is the separator now? Slash is the separator. You can also write separator like this. ID. That's also fine. But how do you pass 101 hyphen some name? Got it? Some separator should be present. Can I write like this? No, you cannot. Why? What is the separator between two? Tomorrow I'll give 101 shoes. 101 shoes. Where to separate them? Did you get my point or not? Array, what is the separator for both the two things here? 101 shoes. What is the separator? There is no separator. Either I give a slash 101 slash shoes. Separator. 101 hyphen shoes. Separator. So that's what. So what it tells you is, array, there should be a separator. There should be a separator. Placeholder by enclosing them in curly braces. You can define more than one placeholder in a segment, but they must be separated by a letter value. For example, you see now, language, watch it. Language hyphen country slash action is a valid route pattern. However, that is a wrong pattern. That is a wrong pattern. Just now I said you ID name, wrong pattern. ID hyphen name, right pattern. ID slash name, right pattern. But ID name is a wrong pattern because there is no letter value or delimiter between the placeholder. Therefore, routing cannot determine where to separate the values for language placeholder from the value for the country placeholder. How to separate the language and how to separate the country. Basically, you have something like EN-US. Can you understand that? The first one talks about the language and the second one talks about the country. Which language? English, US. Same way, EN-GB. What is that? You forgot your English, yeah? Your English is that only, na? British English, yeah. GB, Great Britain. Your English is Great Britain only, na? What English we follow? American English or British English, yeah? British English. This is our English, EN-GB. This is American English. So English also has multiple. So right now, if I don't have a separator now, how do you know how to separate it now? That's a conflict. Yes or not? That's a conflict here. Because of this particular conflict, compulsory there should be a separator. To understand what is what, some delimiter should be present over there. Routes is a variable of table route connection. That a parameter is always an instance in the runtime here. What error are you getting? If you are not getting means, might be you have not checked all the checkboxes what I explained to you. So when you are installing IES, I very clearly said you in the add remove components under IES, how many checkboxes are there? All checkboxes has to be checked. If you don't check, that will be a problem. Restart your machine and have you tested, checked it? If you can say what error is coming, based on that we can search in the Google. Because everyone will get different errors. I cannot tell what is the problem. You need to search in the Google, that's all. Hundreds of errors are there. What can be the reason? Can't say that. You got an error, go to Google, search it, and you will get an option for fixing that problem. Simply if you say I got an error, means what error you got? How do I know? I don't know. Fine. Are you clear with routing? Yes or not? Okay. Can we define multiple routes in route config class? Yes. We can define multiple routes in a route config class so that MEC framework evaluates each route in sequence. It starts with the first configured route, and if incoming URL doesn't satisfy the URL pattern of the route, then it will evaluate the second route and so on, just like an if condition here. How does if condition execute? It will evaluate the first if. No, then goes to else if. No, then goes to else if. Like this, it is going to go to each. So like this, you can give multiple routes now. You can define multiple routes now. But all routes should not be same pattern. You define one more route again with the same pattern, there's a conflict now. Pattern should change. Are you getting my point or not? Then what it will do, it will search with the each and every route defined there. It searches with the first one. If it matches, execute. Doesn't get, then goes to second one. Matches, execute. Like this, you have an option to define your own routes here. I'll show you. And if incoming URL doesn't satisfy the URL pattern of the route, then it will evaluate the second route and so on. To understand this, open routeconfig.cs file and add the below code above default route. So just go there and try to add this code above the default route. See, again, don't try to define the route with the same pattern and telling you. The pattern should change. If you don't change the pattern, no need to write another. I want to write controller action ID, a different controller, a different default controller, different default action method, useless. That is. Do you understand what I said here? Someone is trying to write a new route like this. Default to, and here writing demo, and here writing store. This is useless. This is useless here. Why this is useless? The pattern already matches to the first one, will never come to second one now. Are you clear? The pattern should be different. Then only you can define a new route. The same pattern I want to define 4 or 5 routes are not possible. If you want to define multiple routes, define them with a different pattern. The pattern doesn't change. Writing multiple routes is waste. Okay. Now I'm going to add one more thing here. Observe it, all of you. My new route name is, how to call it? If I call MIT star students, it should call me student controller and the index action method. Are you clear? Now see, there should be a value there. There should be a static value. What is that? MIT. And here also, this is fixed. This is not a placeholder again. MIT/students. That is a fixed value. Are you clear? If any URL comes like MIT/students, automatically this is going to invoke you, the student controller, and call you the index action method in your code now. Is that point clear, all of you? Okay. So to test this one now, let us add a new controller in the project. We'll name that controller as student controller. We'll go for scaffolding, guys. Controller from now on, actually scaffolding only. Okay, no manual code. MVC5 controller empty. Click add. Student is my controller. Okay, what is my controller name? Student. Under that, I have an index method, and I just wanted to define the index action method with a simple code. I think there you are, simple code. Okay, now, student controller, index action method. A very simple code what I'm using now. Fine. Run this. All of you watch it. NIT slash students. NIT slash students. Your controller name is not students. Remember, what is your controller name? Student. But I define my route to be NIT slash students. Watch. And this invokes you what? Student controller index action method. Are you clear? I don't write anything in my address bar now. Then where it is going? Home control. Why? See, the first route is not matching now. Then it is going to second route. If that also doesn't match, it goes to third route. But don't forget one thing. You cannot define all the routes with the same pattern. Are you clear? Same controller, same index. No, you can't define that. The pattern should compulsory change. So this is how you can define multiple routes in your code now. How many routes can you define? Any number of routes. For this, I given a name as student. And the URL pattern should, this is a fixed value, guys. And it should have, generally, we do like this for launching home pages. We do like this for launching home pages. When you just type the address URL, automatically the home page has to launch there. In such scenarios, we use this particular style of adding up multiple routes there, new routes there. Otherwise, we always go for using the default route, and that will be useful for us in setting up the patterns. Error number, search with that error. Yeah, only one. If multiple routes execute, use your common sense, Supriya. If multiple routes execute, which page will launch? You write if, else, if, else, if, else, if. One only should execute, not all. When you have multiple routes, if all routes execute, which page will launch here? Student index, home index. One only should execute, multiple should not execute. So first it checks with the first one, matches here, executes that, will not go to second. No, it is not matching, then goes to the second and searches. Yeah. You can see now, simply NIT slash students will launch you the code for you. If it is IIS Express, like this. If it is localhost, local IIS, like this. Okay. I'm getting unable to start debugging on the web server on IIS. If you're not able to start it, you did not open the studio in the admin mode. Elias, yesterday you have hosted on the admin mode in the IIS, and now you did not start your Visual Studio in admin mode. Based on what it will say? Based on the code you written there, the URL is having NIT slash students. Then this is matching now. This is fixed variable. That is fixed. This is fixed. NIT slash student. That is fixed value. No, it is not in this pattern. It is not in this pattern. Some controller name is there. Then it will go to second pattern. See, when it comes like this only, this will go. You write something over there, then this doesn't match. This is a fixed value. Then it goes to the second, and then it will check for the controller name and the action method name. Attribute routing is a different concept. We will learn about it later. I'll teach you. Wait here. Wait. Write this note. Did you understand? Default is like our else part. When you're writing a try catch block, you're required to say catch exception always in the last. If you say catch exception on the top, what will happen? If you say catch exception on the top, what will happen? Remaining catch blocks won't execute. Everything will stop with the first catch block only, right? Exactly. Make a habit of writing the default route always in the last. Sir, what happens if I write in the first? Understand what happens if you write in the first. You're written like this. Observe. Suppose now if I give NIT/students, what will happen? It will think NIT as controller name and students as action method. You don't have a controller with the name NIT and have an action method name with the name called students now. So you get an error. You get a error now. Okay. So try to execute the code and see. .404 error code means page is not available here. Your page is not available there. See now, NIT/students. See your address bar. You're typing something wrong in the address. That's a page. 404 error means page not found. 404 error is not found. Why page not found? Why page not found is because what did you type? NIT/students. Which pattern it is checking now? First, always default pattern will come off. Thinks NIT as controller name, students as action method. Is there any controller in your code with the name NIT? No. Array, that is only not there. Why to check for students action method there? Understood my point? So make sure you have the default route always in the bottom of your code, not on the top of your code. Yeah. Next, how to use the route parameters. How to use the route parameters. What do you mean by that? Actually, you just have a parameter that is defined in the route for you. Array, we already have a parameter that is defined in the route now. Yes or not? What? /ID. Where ID is the parameter. ID is the parameter now. I'm sorry. Yeah, using route parameter. By default, we can pass one parameter to any action method. What is the parameter? ID. Because it was defined in default route under the route config class. Under the class route config. And to check that, open routeconfig.cs file. Open routeconfig.cs file and watch the value of URL, which will be as following. You saw it already, guys. Array, this is a URL pattern. What do you find there, right? It is what you are just already seeing there in the code. Okay. And see, by default, the ID is optional. By default, the ID is optional. And we can find that, under defaults in the next line. If you go to the defaults in the next line, you will see the ID as an optional parameter already shown you guys. Okay, now ID is optional. Next, if required, we can send the ID value to the action method, and that value can be used inside of the method, and to use it, action method should have ID as parameter. So what is it telling? Hey guys, if at all you want to use this ID, you can use this ID in your code. You can use this ID in the code. Observe it, all of you. Notice carefully. I am adding one more controller in the project. I will name this controller as params controller. What is the name? Params controller. And here I just wanted to define the index action method or sub method. Public string index. For this, I can pass the ID now. It's not case sensitive here. Just the spelling is important. Uppercase, lowercase, Pascal case, anything is okay. Int ID. Did you get my point here? So like this, I can just go for defining a thing here. So I'm writing the method as index 1, not index 1. See, the value of ID is ID. Then how to call it, sir? How to call it? Params slash index 1 slash pass the value you want now. Did you catch my point? Run. What is the controller name? Params. What is the method name? Index 1 slash 100. The value came there. Yes or not? You got the value over there. You got the value ID taken up at that location. Okay. So fine. Now passing this ID is mandatory or optional? Passing ID is mandatory or optional? Louder. Mandatory. It is declared optional. It is declared optional means you may use it or may not use it. But one thing understand, mandatory now. Why is it mandatory? For your method you defined ID now. Your method doesn't, see, in the URL pattern it is telling optional. Means what is the meaning? When you are defining a method, you may use or may not use. But if you use, compulsory use it pass now. What I'm trying to tell is, listen. Listen. Params slash index 1. Error. Why error? Read it. The parameter dictionary contains a null entry for parameter ID of non-nullable type system.int32. So if you don't pass, what will happen here? Null will come. And ID doesn't accept null now. Are you clear? If you want to make it optional, you can do in multiple ways. What are multiple ways? Is equals to 0. What is that? Default value. You can pass a default value for a parameter, right? You're passing a default value. ID equal to 0. So now when you're calling this method, if I don't pass a value, what will happen? Null won't come now. What has to come? 0 has to come there. What's it? Params index 2. I did not pass any value. Can I pass a value? 100%. You can pass a value slash 100. When the 0 will be used? When you don't pass a value. But if you pass a value, it will use the value whatever we have passed. Are you clear? Okay. So like this, we can just define the methods in this way. You can write this in another way also. Actually, you can write this code in another way. What is the other way? Without passing a default value. You know this already, guys. What's it? Nullable. It's nullable, right? So now what is passed? If I don't pass anything, what will come? Null. What will come? Null. And that int is nullable. Earlier int is not nullable, but now int is nullable. What's it called? Nullable value type or a nullable integer. Run. Params index 3. Params index 3. Okay. I written as index. Okay. We'll change it later. Index. Got it? Null. That's a null value. Can I pass a value? You can pass a value. If you pass, that value will be executed. Otherwise, the null value come for you in this case. Understood? Okay. So like this, we can just go for defining the methods and call them at that location. All of you have a look. Execute the above methods as following. Call index 1. It is error, invalid. Error. Index 1 slash 100, valid. Index 2, valid. Value of ID is 0. Valid. Null. Okay now? I given you guys a URLs also how to test them in your code for both IIS Express as well as local IIS. I don't know how you're running, so you can do whatever you just want in that place now. Read this note. Yeah, someone was messaging me, Sakarapa string there. I already said you, yeah, 10 minutes or 15 minutes back, I already said you that point. What did I said you? ID data type is not specified there. So you can use int or string or float or double or anything. When you're writing the method, there you need to tell that ID should be integer or ID should be string or ID should be boolean or whatever it is. Today I've taken int there. Tomorrow you can check string ID, no props. It works. So it is telling you, not case sensitive. Already I said you that point also. Spelling is important, uppercase or lowercase, any case you write, spelling is important. Just ID, that's all. Okay? Because it is same name we have in routeconfig.cs file. So we cannot change it in our action method. And if we try to use a different name to the parameter other than ID, then the value we pass to the route will not be taken by the action method. And to test this, define two new action methods now. So what I'm telling is, if you change the name, that won't be taken. If you change the name, that won't be taken. All of you have a look. I'm writing two more action methods in the code. Now watch it. What is the value? Int x. The value of ID is x. Okay. Same way. Nullable. Are you clear? Okay. Yeah, can I use default? Can I use a default value? Can I use a default value now? Just like earlier, can I use a default value? What? I'm writing 6. Oh, this name we did not change that. This is 3. For example, is equals to 0. Default value. Understood? Now you observe 4, 5, and 6 are the 3 new methods what you define. Watch it. Params slash index 4. Okay. Slash 100. Why? Array, your parameter name is x here. Read that. Null entry for parameter x. But what is the route? Route is defined as ID. But what is the name you used here? X. Both are not matching now. Understood my point? Okay, what about 5? What about 5? 5 can execute. Why 5 can execute? Because x is nullable. By default, x null comes and that code can still execute for you. What about 6? In 6, we given a default value 0, right? Understood? You don't pass a value for ID and now. Now suppose if I give slash 100. Will it take 100 or not? Come on. Will it take 100 or not? Array, no, yeah. Array, parameter name is mismatching now. Whatever you pass it is for ID, not for X. What did you define in the route? ID now? What is the name you define in the parameter? Then you pass the value and go to ID, not to X. So what I'm telling you, what did you read? That only is, you read it, read again. We cannot change it in our action method. We cannot change it in our action method. That's what I'm telling you. You cannot change that. Are you clearer or not? That cannot be changed. Suppose what about 5? 5 is a default value. Oh, sorry, 5 is question mark null. So then it will exit null. If I say slash 100, then also that will be null only. The value won't be loaded at all. In all the 3 scenarios, the value won't be loaded. Why is it not loaded? Because the route name and the parameter name are mismatching. Route name is ID. Parameter name is X. They are mismatching. So they are not going to execute at all. See here, not only I just see passing value to X is optional, and if passed also, it will not take it because of parameter name. Because parameter name is mismatching. Okay, and here also actually these both are the same only here. You don't pass a value or give a default value, both are like very similar only. See, passing value to x is optional, and if passed also, it will not take. Are they both same now? In the first case also, passing is optional. Second case also, passing is optional. If I pass also, no use. It doesn't take. I hope you guys are clear. Okay, sir, how can I pass then? Is there any solution for this particular problem? Can I pass it in any other way? Yes, you can. How? Question mark, x is equals to 100. Query string. What is that? In the query string, you're telling a parameter name is not ID, parameter name is x. So query string x 100. Like this you can pass. Okay. Can I pass it for 4? Can I pass it for 5? And can I pass it for 6? All you can pass because you're telling the parameter name in the address bar. The query string name was specified in the address bar, so you can do it. Let me talk here without explaining, only you're asking all the questions. Overloading is possible. I tell you now, wait, you're disturbing the class. After I complete the topic, I'll give you time, then ask me the questions. I'm explaining something and you're asking the same about that only. So wait, I'll explain you all the points. Someone asking us, can I pass a different data type? I already said you that. Again, you're asking this question. Wait, let me complete up the topic. Then I'll give you time for you. You ask all your doubts. So here, index 5, index 6, both are same. So there's no point of writing this again. When you use default, question mark, nullable, there's no need of again defining a method with x is equals to 0. Is that clear? Fine. So now this is how you can execute your methods, guys. Index 4, invalid because there is no value for x. Index 4/400, invalid because the value is not taken for x. Now also invalid only because the value is not taken for x. Index 5, valid or invalid? Valid. Why? Because it is nullable. See, valid. And the value for x is null. Index 5/500. Valid or invalid? Valid. Why invalid? Valid. But value for x is null, not 100. Now also value for x is null only. Is that clear? Okay. So both are same only. I'm not explaining 2 times. I just given you for IIS Express and local IIS for the URLs. That's all. But these are same. Read this. Understood? But what we already discussed, the type is not specified. Already said you. When I was explaining it, I clearly said you ID doesn't have any type specified. Because ID doesn't have any type specified, then you are writing a method that is up to you how you want to define it. See now, string ID. I'm using string ID. And what did I say? It's not case sensitive. It is going to be any case. Till now, I was writing ID in lowercase. But here I have written ID in Pascal case, but still the code executes. Why? Because spelling is important, but not the case. Case doesn't matter here. Only spellings are important. Params, what is the method name, guys? Index 6, index 6. Passing value is mandatory or optional? Now, what I mean to ask is, if I don't pass a value, will I get any error? Or execute? Error? String is nullable, na? Why you get error? First you take an ID. ID is not nullable. That's why you got error. But string is nullable only. Why you get error? Yes or not? Can I pass /hello? Can I pass /100? Come on, fast. Yes or no? Yes. Why? Anything can be converted to string. True. I'm passing a decimal here, 34.56. 34.56. That is the conflict. Why? That the decimal is taken as a delimiter now, as a separator now, and it will think 34 as one value and 56 as another value. That's it. With decimals, you have a problem. But other than that, rest of all the things, it will take booleans, strings, characters. I pass a character there, only a character, A. No props, na? It just execute. Anyhow, strings are nullable. You already know that. Anyhow, strings are nullable. You already know that particular thing. A string is a nullable. So you guys can see now all the scenarios. Valida, invalida. Valid. Second one. Valid. Third one. Fourth one. Fifth one. Valid and value of ID is null. Valid and value of ID is hello. Valid and value of ID is 600. Valid and ID value is true. Invalid because of the special character decimal. Because of the special character decimal, which will be treated as a delimiter there, as a separator. And because of that, that won't execute. Okay, now? Are you clear? Okay. Sir, I want to define multiple routes, multiple parameters. I just want to go for multiple routes or multiple parameters to my route. Can I? Yes, you can. How? Go to routeconfig.cs. Go to routeconfig.cs and watch it, guys. /name. One more parameter I am defining here, /name. But be careful. If you leave it like this, that will become mandatory parameter, and while calling compulsory, you will pass a value. Are you clear? So what to do? Comma. Name is equals to URL parameter dot. Optional. Got the point? URL parameter dot optional. Okay? So fine. Now you guys can just observe it. Now you guys can just observe this one. What is that? Oh, when I'm writing a method, where params controller, I'll write you a new method that takes multiple parameters. Okay now? I'm just using placeholder. I'm just using string interpolation, $sign. You know that now? You can directly substitute variables by putting the curly braces inside the double quotes. Yeah. Now you see ID and name. Okay. Now run. Observe. Params method name. Index 7. Index 7. Guys, observe. Can I call this method without passing any values? Come on. Yes or no? Why you put a sad face here? Sadly, you say, why? Enjoy it first. Can I call it without passing any value? Yes or no? No, yeah. First parameter is integer, na? Hey, you forgetting every minute you're forgetting. Integer. Integer is not having null value, cannot be accepted there. ID, see? ID is a problem. Can I pass /100? Valid? Valid. Name? Null. Name is string, nullable, na? So not a problem. 100/computer or a laptop. I'm saying laptop. Valid. Did you get my point? Can I pass value only for ID? Yeah, I'll sure. Can I pass value only for name? Can I pass value only for name? Array, if you can pass that value only for name also, ID is a mandatory parameter in my code that will throw error. Are you getting my point here? So if you want to pass only value for name, you can pass it here, but error will come sure. How we can pass? Question mark, name is equals to. Did you understand? I can put a question mark, name is equals to, but now still ID will give you error. Understood my point? If you want to resolve it, another method, okay? Are you clear? I'm making ID also nullable. Both are nullable now. Okay? Now run the code. Params, index 8. Now tell me, can I call it like this? Valid or not? Valid. Valid. I'm passing value only for ID. Fine. I want to pass value only for name. I want to pass value only for name. Because that is not the first parameter. The first parameter not called a second parameter. A second parameter. See, in C# we learned. If first one is mandatory and second one is optional, how you specify the parameter name colon. Parameter name colon. But here in the same way, it's not that syntax. The syntax is like question mark, name is equals to laptop. Can I interchange this order? What do you mean? First, I want to specify the name, and afterwards, I just wanted to specify the ID. Error will come. Why? ID is the first parameter, nullable only, but laptop is the value what you're passing. If it doesn't take, null should come there. But answer came in the second place now. See, error did not come. I'm sorry, I said error. Error did not come. Why I did not get error? Because the laptop is not accepted, taking the default value now there. So that's why, see, when you can pass but will not be used means useless now. Yes or not? So the correct way of passing is question mark, name is equals to laptop, ampersand. Already explained you. Concatenation operator with question mark, separator is a ampersand. Ampersand, ID is equals to 100. Are you clear? That's what the two methods are defined, and I given you get the list how to call them. Only 7. Error. Okay, now is an error. Next. Valid or invalid? Valid. Valid. Invalid. Because the values are not in order. Next. Valid. You can pass it like name Raju, IDs are valid. Is also valid. Because we can change the things also. Now come to the next one. What is the next method? 8. See now the difference. First one is also valid here. First one is invalid in the top. The first one is invalid, but first one is valid. Next. Passing only a value, valid. ID and value, valid. This one, invalid, because parameter value is not in order. But understand a point here, error won't come. Error won't come. You won't get an error. Why you won't get an error? Why you won't get an error? The value Raju won't be taken there, but 800 will be taken as a name now. Okay? Next. Only name. Valid or not? Valid. In this case, ID will be null. Next. This is valid. This is also valid. Are you clear? So that's how exactly I'm expecting you to test. That's how I'm exactly expecting you to test the code. Understood all of you? Yes or not? Okay. Okay guys, I just talked about everything. Now tell me what are your doubts, what are your questions, tell me on these parameters. I explained you, I said you wait here, I'll tell you all the things. Without eating the food, you're trying to know what is the taste of the food. Let me completely explain you everything people asked. I said you now. Passing strings, multiple parameters, everything I've shown you. I'll discuss everything here. If you ask suddenly something in the middle when I started the topic, that will deviate the original things. So let me complete my discussion. Okay, see my class is done. Come on, anyone have any doubts? Let me know. I'll clarify all your questions. If you have any doubts, you can, otherwise you can leave the session. And need to pass the remaining other parts can be empty. Okay, you're answering this one. ID and name and route config as parameter. Yeah, we just added that already in router. I'm telling you that only. You got some error. Copy that error message, go to Google and search what is the problem. I just cannot tell you because you're getting this error means your address is wrong in the URL. Might be your address is wrong in the URL. Then only you will get this problem. In place of string, yeah, tell me. 2.5 months. MVC ఇది 2 months, ఒక 1.5 month అయిపోతుంది. 1.5 month. Yeah, we can pass object also. Venkat, you can pass object. I did not create a WhatsApp group still. Open the browser and type http://localhost. If IS is present, it will show you. Open your browser, type http://localhost. If IS is present, this window will open for you. If it opens, IS is installed. No, Elias. No. I cannot give you permission. Like, how can I give a permission? Yesterday's class, can you upload in the drive? Yes. Are you talking about notes? Just a minute, Devarajulu. Just a minute. Yesterday's class, can you upload in the drive? You're asking about the notes, Preetham? That's what I'm telling you. Your class videos will not be given anymore. I already said that. By mistake that is placed in your group, your class videos will not be given anymore. I already said you that. Friday session is the last session for you to provide the videos. No more videos will be given. No, they can be non-value returning also, but you don't see any result. Notes is already placed there. The complete notes is already placed there, Preetham. The total course. Why, sir? For what, Nishant? Videos are the starting of the session only. I said you. Videos are not provided for this. If you want videos, the fees is 7,000. Contact your admin and pay the remaining. He will send the videos to your personal email ID. Full amount means? Yes, valid. ID is equals to name is equals to valid. Shrikant, valid. Yeah, if you pay 7,000, the videos will be sent to your email directly. They will be sent to your email directly, Nishant. Okay, you will receive it on your email. They will not be posted in the public. తెచ్చి తెచ్చేయండి టిఫిన్ తెచ్చేయండి. Who is having the problems? Let me check. Hold on. Rakesh, can you share your screen? Rakesh, share your screen. You can use it. Try, Srikanth. Why questions? Try. Are you there, Rakesh? Share your screen then. I given you permissions. Share your screen. Okay, meanwhile, who is the other one facing the problem? Biyakar Sharada. I'm giving you permission. Can you share your screen? Biyakar Sharada. Can you share your screen? Kalyan, contact the admin. Everyone have a problem, but no one is sharing the screen. I did not understand, Muhammad. What's your question? Sneha, contact the admin. Contact the admin. Devarajulu, share your screen. Devarajulu, share your screen. Someone else asked about sharing the screen. Who is that? Muhammad, I did not ask you and understand your question. Can you show me? I did not understand your question. Click on join class, Devarajulu. Oh, you're not added. Is your Google ID? Scroll down. Scroll down. Have you paid? Have you paid 7,000, Mr. Devarajlu? Have you paid for 7,000? Yeah. This is access to the videos. Classroom link is not provided to you. This is video access link. Mr. Devarajlu, this is video access link. Okay? Stop sharing. I will just I will speak with Arvind now. I will speak with Arvind now. Just a minute. Arvind, ఒకసారి పైకి రండి. Go to the browser, man. Go to the browser. Close all the browsers. Close all. Why are you giving space between local and host? Close all. Close all the browsers. Open a new tab. Open new tab. Don't give space between local and host. Enter. Present now. Sneha, did you send a request to Arvind? Sneha, did you send a request to Arvind? Yes, Mohammed. Sneha, are you there? చూడండి, ఇది దేవరాజులు అని మీరు ఎన్నిసార్లు రిక్వెస్ట్ పెట్టినా సరే మీరు రెస్పాన్స్ ఇవ్వట్లేదంట. గూగుల్ క్లాస్ రూమ్ కి మీరు యాడ్ చేయలేదంట. దేవరాజులు, ఆర్ యు దేర్? దేవరాజులు, ఆర్ యు దేర్? Send a hi to send a hi to Arvind now. He's beside me. Send a hi to Arvind now. Yes, Rakesh. వీడియో ఇది ఎందుకు, ఇది ఆపేయండి. మీరు అదే చెప్తున్నారు, మీరు గూగుల్ యాక్సెస్ ఇచ్చింది 7,000 రూపీస్ పే చేసిన దానికి ఇచ్చారు. దాంట్లో నోట్స్ ఉండదు, వీడియోస్ ఒకటే ఉంటాయి. రావట్లేదు. ఇప్పుడు షేర్ చేసి చూపించాడు. మాట్లాడండి అతనితో. రాకేష్, షేర్ యువర్ స్క్రీన్. Disabled. No, Rakesh is a co-host. You can share. Rakesh Tiwari. Oh, two Rakesh Tiwaris are there. Oh, you logged in again from a different device. Okay, now you have option C. Rakesh, fast. Come on, show me what is your problem. What are you doing, man? Is it working now? Okay. Who is that? Muhammad. Muhammad, are you there? Muhammad, are you there? Still anyone have any issues? Still anyone have any issues? Guys, still anyone have any issues? Then leave the session. Why are you in the session still? If you don't have any issues, leave the session. Leave the session. Okay, guys, if you don't have any sessions, then I'm leaving. If you don't have any questions, I'm leaving. You're better. మరి ఏం చేయాలి? మరి ఎర్ర వస్తుందంటే మనం ఏం చేస్తామంటే మనమే చెయ్యాలి. కాదు, వాడి గూగుల్ క్లాస్ రూమ్ యాక్సెస్ ఉంది, ఇప్పుడు స్క్రీన్ షేర్ చేసి చూపించాడు, దాంట్లో వీడియోసే ఉన్నాయి, ఇది లేదు, నోట్స్ లేదు. ఈ రెండు రెండు సెపరేటా? ఒకటే దాంట్లో వీడియోస్ ఎందుకుంటాయి? అందరికీనా? 7,000 కట్టిన వాళ్ళకి 3,500 కట్టిన 3,500 కట్టిన వాళ్ళకి అదే అదే చెప్తున్నా. అదేంటంటే మరి ముందు వీడియో ఇన్విటేషన్ క్లిక్ చేసేసి ఉంటాడు, అందుకనే అది యాడ్ అవ్వట్లేదు. దాన్ని ఎలా యాడ్ చేయాలో ఆయన చేయమని అరవింద్, అదేంటి అరవింద్ అంటున్నాను, ఎవడో చిట్టుబాబు, చిట్టుబాబుకి ఇన్ఫార్మ్ చేసి ఇది ప్రాబ్లము, ఎలా యాక్సెస్ చేయాలని చెప్పు. మాట్లాడిచ్చు. ఇప్పుడు అదేంటది 10-15 మ్యాచ్ అయిపోయింది కదా ఇంకా మొత్తం. ఎంతమంది ఉన్నారు ఆన్లైన్? ఆన్లైన్ పే చేసిన వాళ్ళు. క్లాస్ రూమ్ 98 అయిపోయా పేమెంట్లు? ఇంకా వస్తున్నారా?